They say a mother's prayer can move mountains, but nobody ever warned you about the tectonic shift of a mother's tears. I am sitting on the dusty veranda of my father's house today, staring at 3 wedding invitations, all of them ours. These were the invitations to our bright futures, our happily ever afters. Today, they are just scraps of paper blowing in the hot harmattan wind, mocking the people we used to be. Between the 3 of us, my 2 brothers and me, there is not a single wedding ring left. Our homes are ruined, our bank accounts are hollowed out, and our dignity has been stripped away like bark from a dead Iroko tree. We used to be the envy of this village. We were the golden children who made it to the city, the ones who bought cars and built mansions. But we committed a sin we called kindness, and today the interest on that sin is consuming us alive. We thought we were being modern. We thought we were being good children to our father while our mother was struggling for her life in a hospital bed. But we forgot one eternal truth. You cannot build a new house using the blood of the woman who gave you life as mortar and expect that house to stand. As I look at my brothers, men who used to command boardrooms now sitting in silence with empty pockets, I realized we didn't just lose our marriages, we traded them. We traded our mother's peace for our father's pleasure, and the currency was our own souls. The worst part isn't even our poverty. It is the realization that the legacy we tried to protect for our father was a lie from the very beginning. We were so busy replacing our mother that we didn't notice we were being played by the very woman we hired to help us. To understand the depth of our fall, you must understand the woman we betrayed. Our mother, Mama Nkechi, was the unseen architect of our lives. For 40 years, she was the first to breathe life into the hearth and the last to blow out the lamp. She was a woman of silence and strength, a woman who knew how to stretch a single kobo until it covered the hunger of 3 growing children. When our father, Papa, lost his prestigious government job in the late 90s, the world thought we would starve. His friends vanished and his pride collapsed. But Mama didn't cry. She didn't complain. She simply tied her wrapper tighter around her waist and went into the forest. She turned the red, stubborn dust of my father's ancestral land into the school fees that sent all 3 of us to the best universities. She became a farmer, a trader, a seamstress, and a laborer all at once. She carried our father's pride on her back like a heavy sack of tubers, shielding him from the reality of his own failures. She never let him feel like less of a man, even when it was her sweat paying the electricity bills and her strength keeping the roof over our heads. She served him hand and foot, placing his water in the bathroom and his food on the table before she ever thought of herself. By the time she turned 60, the labor had stolen her youth. Her skin was a map of every struggle she had endured for us, deep valleys of wrinkles around her eyes and calluses on her hands that felt like stone. Her back was permanently bent from years of hoeing and carrying firewood. She looked a decade older than our father, even though he was 65. That is because, while he lived in the shade of her labor, she had spent 40 years burning in the sun of his needs. Papa remained smooth-skinned and vibrant, his ego kept plump by the way Mama worshipped him. We, her 3 children, grew up seeing this as normal. We didn't see a woman dying in installments. We just saw Mama, the tireless machine. We took her for granted, convinced that her only purpose was to serve. We loved her, yes, but it was a selfish love, the kind of love a person has for a well that never runs dry. We never stopped to ask what would happen when the water finally finished. We never realized that by pulling her out of that house for her own good when she fell ill, we were removing the only thing keeping the darkness of our father's selfishness at bay. We thought we were saving her, but we were actually clearing the stage for her replacement. The collapse happened on a Sunday. Mama was preparing bitter leaf soup when she simply fell. It wasn't a dramatic scream. It was a silent surrender of a body that had been pushed too far. The doctors in the village said her heart was tired. We, the educated children, swarmed the village in our cars. We held meetings and decided that the village was backward and unhealthy for her recovery. We packed her things and took her to Lagos, to a private hospital where we promised her rest. We told her, "Mama, you have worked enough. Let us take care of you." But as soon as we left the village, the calls from our father began. At first, they were subtle. "The house is quiet," he would say. By the second week, his tone shifted to frustration. "I am a man of status. I cannot be expected to fry my own eggs or wash my own clothes. Your mother is in Lagos eating bread and butter while I am here starving." We felt a suffocating guilt. We were busy with our careers and our own young marriages. We didn't want to spend our weekends traveling 5 hours to the village to cook for an old man who didn't know how to boil water. So, the three of us held a secret meeting in my eldest brother's living room. "Papa needs a homa," Eshugi suggested. A homa, a word we use to make a second wife sound like a domestic staff member. We told ourselves we were being progressive. We even convinced ourselves we were doing it for Mama so she wouldn't have to work when she returned. We gave Papa the green light and a budget. He chose Blessing. Blessing was 28 years old, younger than I am. Her skin was the color of polished mahogany and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. We paid her family a settlement. We didn't call it bride price, but the village knew. We were marrying a girl for our father while our mother was struggling to breathe in a hospital bed. For a year, we lived a lie. Every time we visited Mama in Lagos, we told her the house was fine. "A distant cousin is staying in the guest room to keep the yard clean," we would say. Mama would nod, her eyes filled with a longing to go home. Meanwhile, back in the village, the distant cousin was moving her things into Mama's bedroom. Blessing wasn't just cooking, she was ruling. She was pregnant within 3 months and gave birth to twin boys. Our father was rejuvenated. He stopped calling us to complain. He started calling us to ask for money for new lace for Blessing. We gave it to him. We were happy he was out of our hair. The betrayal reached its peak when Mama finally got the clearance to go home. She was so excited. She bought gifts for Papa, a new watch and a warm cardigan. She talked about him the whole drive back. When we arrived at the compound, Mama stepped out of the car, her heart full of hope. She walked into the parlor expecting to see her husband waiting with open arms. Instead, she found Blessing sitting in Mama's favorite mahogany chair, nursing 2 infants. The house smelled of a different soup, a soup Mama didn't cook. Papa came out of the room wearing a silk robe and he didn't even look at Mama first. He leaned over Blessing and kissed her forehead. "Who is this?" Mama's voice was a whisper of glass breaking. Papa looked up, his expression indifferent. "This is the woman who kept my house while you were away. The children brought her. She has given me sons in my old age. Be happy, Nkechi. You are old now. You need the rest." Mama turned to the 3 of us, her eyes searching our faces for a denial. But we looked at the floor. We began to babble. "Mama, it's not what you think. She's just a helper. Think of your health." We mocked her pain with our logic. We treated her 40 years of sacrifice like a debt that had been settled and closed. We didn't see a woman whose soul had been ripped out. We saw an old woman being difficult. We told her she was jealous. We told her to go to her room. Only it wasn't her room anymore. It was Blessing's. But here is the twist we didn't see coming. Blessing wasn't just a helper. As Mama stood there trembling, a young man from the village, a laborer we had hired to fix the roof months ago, walked into the backyard with a familiarity that felt like a slap. He didn't greet Papa. He walked straight to Blessing and touched the head of one of the twins. Papa didn't see it, but Mama did. She realized in that instant that she wasn't just being replaced, she was being replaced by a lie. Our father, in his 65-year-old vanity, believed he was still a king, capable of fathering twins. In reality, he was being used by a young woman and her lover, right under the roof my mother had built. Mama tried to speak, but the words choked her. We, her children, pushed her toward the guest mat, telling her to calm down. We chose the comfort of our father's delusion over our mother's sanity. That night, the house felt like a tomb. Mama didn't eat, she didn't argue, She simply sat on a thin mat in the parlor, the only place left for her. At midnight, while we were in our rooms trying to ignore the guilt, the crying started. It wasn't a normal cry. It was a rhythmic, guttural moaning, the sound a woman makes when she is buried alive. She began to pace the house. She went to the doorpost of every room where we slept. She didn't shout, she whispered. I gave you my youth. I gave you my blood. I built this home with my bare hands so you could have a place to stand. And because I sought health, you gave my bed to a stranger? You say you destroyed my marriage to help me? Fine. She stepped into the center of the parlor, her voice suddenly clear and cold. As you have made me a stranger in my own home, may you three become strangers in your own. As my heart is breaking tonight, may your marriages break into pieces you can never glue back together. You traded your mother for a helper, then may you spend the rest of your lives searching for help that will never come. Since you could not wait for me to get better, may time never be on your side again. Then she walked to her father's door, but she didn't enter. She stood outside and spoke to the darkness. And for the man who forgot the wife of his youth for the sake of his ego, may you live to see that what you call a blessing is actually your judgment. You will find no peace in these children you claim are yours, for they are seeds of another man's garden. We heard her, and we stayed under our covers. We told ourselves she was just bitter. But at 4 a.m., the crying stopped. When the sun rose, we went to the parlor to appease her. We found her on that mat. She was lifeless, but her eyes were still half open. And as I leaned down, I saw a single fresh tear rolling down her cold cheek. Even in the silence of death, she was still weeping for the betrayal of her own children. She died of a broken heart, and we were the ones who held the hammer. We buried her with a lavish ceremony, thinking money could silence a curse. We were wrong. The harvest began 6 months later. My eldest brother's wife, perfectly healthy, went into labor with their child. She never came out of the theater. The baby died with her. My brother, once a titan of industry, collapsed into a shell of a man. Then it was my turn. My husband told me he was moving to the UK to pave the way. I sold my land to pay for his visa. 2 weeks after he arrived, I found out he had taken his girlfriend. He blocked me on everything. He didn't just leave, he vanished. My youngest brother, his wife was caught in a scandal so deep, it shamed him to resign from his job. Within 4 years, all 3 of us had been driven back to this village. We are all single, we are all broke, and we are all haunted. And the homewrecker, Blessing, now is a tyrant. The truth finally came out. The twins look exactly like that roof laborer, but Papa is too old and too senile to care. He is trapped in a house with a woman who hits him and children that are not his. Blessing screams at him until he cries, and she treats us like servants. She knows we have nowhere else to go. We are the returned ones, the children who thought they could outsmart a mother's love. I'm looking at my mother's grave from the window right now. The weeds are growing high because we are too broken to even clear the grass. We thought we were being kind. We thought we were being modern by replacing a sick old woman with a young, fresh one to keep our father happy. But we forgot that a mother's position is not a job title you can just reassign. It is a spiritual throne. And when you pull a queen off her throne, the whole kingdom falls. So I ask you, if your mother was the one who bled for your success and she fell ill, would you ever consider her replaceable? Is a father's temporary comfort worth the price of a mother's soul? And who truly deserves the blame for the silence in our homes? The father who was blinded by lust, the woman who tricked him, or the 3 children who opened the door for her? Drop your thoughts below. I want to know, is there any mercy for children like us? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, a mother's tears are a fire you can never put out. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Till then, bye.